And finally, we're going to talk about something that I said earlier is near and dear to my heart, rowing. Why I think that you should start rowing. If you've been hopping on the rowing machine and you think it's easy, it's because you've been rowing incorrectly. Because every rower will tell you that that machine is the devil and it's there to take your soul. So, like I said earlier, I started rowing when I was in college. I just got out of the Navy and I started attending UC Santa Barbara full time. I was kind of looking for another challenge, another physical challenge that could take me out of my comfort zone. That's just something that I always liked. Immediately, I fell in love with the sport because yes, it was very uncomfortable that I would have our practices were at 5 in the morning, so that would mean that I would have to wake up at 4 in the morning. I'm a really slow riser, so I need a lot of time to get out of bed and be able to function properly. When I started running, my coach Jeff Laird, who had graduated from the University of LaSalle and had trained with the Penn AC, one of the top rowing programs in the country that's based in Philadelphia. He was a coach for the novice team, the team that I was going to be part of, and he was a really great coach and encouraged me to train a lot harder. When I was meeting with a lot of the guys that were already on the team, they were always telling me all the time, "You're going to be hating the rowing machine, the erg." We called it the erg. They're saying that you're going to be hating the erg. It's so horrible. It kills you every single time. You're not going to like it. And I took that mentality with me to one of the practices, and it was a pretty tough practice on the rowing machines on the erg. And after practice, I told my coach, I was like, "Man, Jeff, I hate the erg." And he gave me really good advice. He said, "Don't say that. Don't tell yourself that you hate a certain workout or a certain machine, because what happens when you do that is that you give it more power than it deserves." So with the erg, yes, it's very challenging. Yes, you've got the monitor right there staring at your face. For every single stroke that you take, it's basically showing you how hard you're working. And if you're slacking off, it's going to be right there for everybody behind you to be able to see, to check that to call you out on the fact that you're slacking off. So I took his advice, and he said, "You have to learn to love the erg. That way, you're taking away the power, and you're able to take control of the machine. Don't let the machine control you. You control the machine." So, like I said, I took his advice and started doing that, and now I always tell everybody, "Oh man, I love the erg." In fact, that year, I'd always be telling everyone I'd be going to workouts on my own after class and telling everyone about how much I love the erg. Even though, yes, of course, it was really hard, but it was something, like I said, I was looking for something that was going to push me, and that was one of the things that helped me get there. So, why should you want to start rowing? First and foremost is that it works all the large muscles. Remember, the big muscles, they're the ones that burn a whole lot of calories. So it works your back mostly, as well as your legs. So those are giant muscles that you're working. And since you're leaning back, it's also working the core, because you have to keep a nice stiff core. And that's also what's going to keep your back from suffering an injury. I know a lot of people are afraid of using the rowing machine because they're afraid that it's going to injure their back. Not if you're keeping your core super tight the entire time. It's actually going to strengthen those muscles that can prevent you from future back injuries. And because those are such large muscles, they also need more oxygen to come in from the blood. So that means that the heart has to be able to pump blood out more effectively, more efficiently, for it to be able to travel all through your body before to clear out all the hydrogen ions that are that's basically what's causing all the burning. So you'll be able to continue working at a hard pace. And this can also increase your lactate threshold. So again, you'll be able to do more work at a higher intensity for a longer period of time after training for an extended period. So like I said, say if you're running hill sprints, there's going to be a point where your legs start to burn a lot. If you're rowing consistently, there's a good chance that you'll be able to run that hill sprint for a lot longer than you would have if you just weren't running any hill sprints at all, if you just went on regular flat terrain jogs instead of running any hill sprints or rowing. Another thing is that it's low impact. So unlike running where you're colliding, hitting the floor, hitting the ground over and over repeatedly, the rowing machine is just smooth. And because it's low impact, that makes it a doable exercise for people of all ages, from someone as young as 6 years old to someone at 76 years old. They can hop on that rowing machine and be able to do it in a safe manner, just as long as they learn how to do it properly. Also, if you're someone that wants to be able to gain some muscle size, guess what? This workout can actually help build up the type 1 muscle fibers. So the type 1 muscle fibers are the ones that most attributed with endurance type exercises. So yes, even though they're smaller, they do actually grow in size just as much, just as the type 2 muscles, which are the fast twitch muscles and the ones that you're working most commonly when you're lifting weights. And one of the other things is the high metabolic requirement. So you could walk on the treadmill for an hour, even with the incline angled up super high, but you're still not going to be able to lose quite as many calories from fat as you would if you're on the rowing machine, because the rowing machine is also requiring upper body movement to happen, and it's requiring you to move forward and back, engaging the core, engaging the back muscles, engaging the legs, pushing off every single time for each repetition. So that's where it can benefit you if your goal is to lose weight from fat. The biggest barrier for most people that hop on the rowing machine is the fact that you have to learn proper technique. And for people that just don't take the time to learn, then there's really not a whole lot of enthusiasm growing in their wanting to row on a frequent level. So you have to take the time to be able to row correctly, and this can take a couple weeks or maybe even longer for a person to finally get the hang of the rowing technique. And because there's so many movements going on simultaneously, for a lot of people, this can be an information overload and make them just want to give up on it instead and just go back to hopping on the treadmill and walk, because, I mean, since you're a toddler, you've been walking, but if you're already an adult and you've never rode before, you're going to be back at square one. Just like the toddler keeps falling every time they try to walk, an adult trying to learn to row would be doing basically the equivalent of falling like the toddler did. So it's not going to look pretty. There's not a whole lot of cool points to learning how to row, but by sticking to it and getting through that learning process to become more technically proficient with the rowing technique, you'll be able to get all the benefits that I've been telling you about rowing. So hopefully you hop on the erg, and I start seeing more people hopping on ergs, not just because that's the hottest training exercise or whatever, but because it's something that is getting you the results that you want.